Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts. Welcome into Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6. And today we are fortunate to have Miss Patty Trigg in the house. And Patsy, how you like it? Patsy or Patsy? You've been named everything.
I know. Well, with the name Patricia, I was named after my dad's sister. I get been called Patty, Patricia. Just don't call me late for dinner. That's the only thing.
That's good. It's nice to see you. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you, Don. It's great being here.
Let's talk about who is Patty Trigg.
Wow, okay.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I don't know. I haven't met her yet.
You haven't? Still trying to find yourself?
My dad's from here. I'm like a fourth generation from Fayetteville. And a lot of people knew my grandma, Miss Eunice. She was a school teacher. And my dad was military and travel, so I personally didn't spend a lot of time here. But because of all the traveling, kind of picked up a little here and there. And I was the first one. My dad's always played. He played with Ernest and John and all those people.
She's talking Ernest Tucker of the Pastime Pickers.
You got it, yeah.
And she's talking about the Colonel Trigg for a lot of the older folks who might remember him. And I remember him a little bit as a young child. But tell us a little bit about your parents. We'll go with that.
Wonderful, because one of my favorite stories that I love to tell about my dad, and this was right after the Depression. And they had corn and whatever, and they brought it into town, and they had just turned it in, got their money, and his father went to the bank, put the money in the bank, and they went home. And the next day the banks closed.
Wow.
So all they had in their pockets was, all the money they had was what they had in their pockets. Wow. And and there again, they didn't have tractors, they had a mule team. When they went out to do all these fields, they used mules. And my dad had met Mr. Higgins. This isn't Charlie Higgins now, but this is
Daddy.
This is Daddy Higgins, and he played the big bull bass. And Dad heard that, and he said he just fell in love with it instantly. And so he started giving Dad lessons. Mr. Higgins started giving Dad lessons.
The stand-up bass.
The stand-up bass. And so whenever he had a funeral service to attend, Dad got to where he would take his place and go play. So Dad took the mule team out and would go do these fields around here, and he got 50 cents a day. That's all day, till he saved up $350. And then he ordered a bass from Germany, beautiful bass, and it showed up this big, huge crate. And of course, by this point, it's just now his father had passed away, his grandfather was gone, it was just his mother, his grandmother, his sister, and him. He was the man in the family. But I think the women rule the roost. But anyway, this big, humongous box shows up, and Dad's sitting there, and they open it up, and Granny and Grandma both just went, they couldn't believe that he had taken his money and purchased this thing, especially at this time when everything was so short. And so they told him he couldn't bring it in the house. He had to keep it in the barn. So off the bass went to the barn. But the very first job he had where he played with the group, he made more in one night than they made in a month. The bass came in the house and was placed right next to the fireplace. But I love that story.
Yeah. He had a soft heart, and he must have had some kind of a music shop, because I know a lot of guys who talked about getting their first guitar from him, and he said, just work it out. He just give it to him and say, just work it, mow the grass over the summer or something.
He did. He loved music. It was for him. It gave him something else to have as he was growing up, and it made a difference in his life. And music makes a difference in a lot of people's life. And I remember, as far back as I can remember, every base we were ever stationed at, the first thing Dad did was find all the musicians, and we would always have picking parties at our house. Also, a lot of people weren't real thrilled to have their kids playing music, so I was amazed down through the time how many kids came to live with us while they were playing, and I was trying to think of a couple of names here, but Joey Lemon was one of the young people that his father was military and kicked him out of the house because he would just play guitar all day. He went on to become Bobby Darin's lead guitar player and run his band. So it wasn't like he just took anybody in. He saw the talent and he really helped nurture it. And then because he was from around here and had his contacts with the people in the industry, especially the Grand Ole Opry, he was able, once a group got together, is to be able to introduce them to people and then get them out on the road. And I think the Grim Reapers were one of the groups that's over there from Flintville, was one of them, and James Hudson was one of his chief engineers at the studio. And Jimmy has his own studio now, too.
Coldwater Studio for the people who might would, and he does the 50 show. Now, one thing as a child, I guess I was probably first, second, third grade. The first recording studio I ever walked in was Colonel Trigg's. It was the basement of somewhere around 110, Highway 110. No,
it was right here at the church.
Okay, I couldn't remember where it was. Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe for you because they had moved to the house by then.
Okay.
Yeah. But when he first started out, the church that's right down here off the square. And it's now the art center. That Dad started out there. The basement was the music store, and upstairs was the studio.
Wow.
And then he eventually moved in, when they moved out here off of 110, he turned the basement into a studio.
Chuck and I heard a lady sing down in the basement, and the acoustics is really good in there. It's a really nice place.
Upstairs was really good
too.
too.
Upstairs, yeah, I'd love to hear it upstairs because that's a really neat place. So that's where his first record shop was at, right?
Correct. And he used to have like all these wonderful instruments, and anybody coming in, he gave free guitar lessons.
Wow.
And one story I do remember, there was a young kid who came in who showed a lot of promise as was going along. And here again, the family didn't have a lot of money, but Dad wanted him to continue to play. So they did a trade-off. He'd bring in like potatoes or whatever crop was in season. And this kid kept coming in and paying it off. And I guess a tornado went through and they lost everything, their home and all his stuff. And his guitar was gone, his amp was gone, all his stuff just disappeared. And Dad didn't know about it, but he kept coming in, paying it off. And when Dad found out, he got him a new guitar and an amplifier and just gave it to him, said, keep going. I'd like to say I know what he's doing today, but that was just one of the stories.
He's a very big-hearted person, and I've heard so many people tell that story about getting their first guitar and how he just wanted you to just pay it off and didn't care when you paid it off and all that. So he must have been a very kind-hearted person.
He was, and I feel very fortunate to have had him for a father, and my mother was equally as generous. And she was like, if you came in and you had an album and you didn't have a picture, she was a wonderful artist. She would draw them, and that would be their album cover. And there was plenty of people, like Dan Crary was one of them, and I was trying to think of a couple of other ones where they didn't have a picture, and she just, while they were recording, she would draw them and do like a chalk or a pencil drawing, and that'd be the cover.
Colonel Trigg was really big in the music industry for that time because he helped out, Ernest and quite a few others. Maybe you might tell that.
Here again, growing up from here, I think he and Ernest were big buddies growing up, as like Charlie Higgins and a few others, and Ray and Clay. Just a wonderful wealth of people around here. And I'm trying to think of Bill's last name, but he played the dobro.
Bill.
He was wonderful electronics, but God was amazing on the dobro too.
Yes, he was. I remember that.
And I remember coming home many times. I almost thought of it, didn't you?
Okay.
But wonderful talent in this town. I'm just always amazed. The Carpenter family was another wonderful family that just very talented. My dad started out primarily with gospel music, and that's what he mostly recorded was the gospel. And I think our music was the first one that came in. I think he did do a little blues, but primarily gospel.
Wow.
And Grandma was the first thing outside of doing the gospel.
Okay. And whether we mentioned this at first, one thing that you can't get recognized for wherever you go is you did Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Correct.
And that's something I'm sure that's going to haunt you the rest of your life.
I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind being a one-hit wonder.
But you're always looking for that second hit, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm writing all the time and working on stuff. I got a couple of things I think they're not in that vein. One of them is I wrote with a lady here locally who's also very talented. She moved here, I guess in the late 80s, because I didn't get here till the 90s, but a lady by the name of Marilyn Green. And we co-write, we call ourselves the Cosmic Compadres, Partners in Rhyme. And we did that song we were talking about, Can You Hear Me Now, and a few others.
It's about a cell phone where you're can you hear me now? And we used to say that more than we do today, but it's still out there. That's the line, can you hear me now? So that's a good catch.
Yeah. But we wrote a song called Silver Bell that it just has so much potential, and I get the same feeling for it that I did for Grandma, and I'm hoping that the right people come along and we can get it in front of someone, but it's a good song.
I like how you reach out and try things, and that's very important. And throughout your whole life, you've done that because we have some footage that we want to show the people at home of some of the things over the years where you've actually been to, I guess, Hollywood, right? Maybe you might want to talk about how you got into commercials and even to the point of where you're not afraid to stand up and give it a shot.
We were playing in College Station, and we were playing at a club there in College Station. And I love to drive, and I did the night shift. We had a big carry van. We carried everything. That was when we were carrying our sound system, the whole ball of wax. And we were driving back home. And I guess we were coming into LA, and I was listening. It was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were interviewing this fellow by the name of Squire Friedel. And he was the spokesperson for Toyota at that time. This would have been in the mid-'80s, and he did all the Toyota commercials. And he was saying that he was going to offer a workshop. And I was sitting there listening to him as I was driving along. I thought, now that sounds cool. That would really be something kind of fun, and it'd be different, it'd give us a chance to do a variety. The next day we got home, I picked up the newspaper, and he didn't give any dates on there. He just said he would be coming through different places. And lo and behold, if he didn't have a thing in the paper about having his first workshop in San Francisco. So I immediately signed up. I thought, now this is cool. I want to do this. So I started taking a couple of commercial workshops, and the first one I got, first one out was the Kellogg's Raisin Bran. And there were they interviewed all across the country. There were over 10,000 people auditioned for the part of the mother, the all-American mom. And I got it. I was absolutely amazed.
Wow.
But
2 scoops of raisins, that was their line then.
Yeah, and after that commercial came out, my nickname was 2 Scoops.
Well, it's a good commercial, and we're going to show a piece of that.
Thank you.
The Burks are a farming family in California's raisin land. And when they sit down to breakfast, they have Kellogg's Raisin Bran. See, the Burks have a saying known by every raisin growing clan.
The more plump, juicy raisins, the better the Raisin Bran.
And there's 2 heaping scoops of raisins in every package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran cereal. No other Raisin Bran gives you more.
Just ask the whole Burke family about those 2 scoops of raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
So tell me about what it was like doing that commercial, because you had to be. I don't know if you realize what kind of impact it literally had. Did you know when you were shooting it where it was fixing to go over the
Had no
the
idea.
world?
In fact, it even showed during the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I know. That was one of them that made the Super Bowl that year.
Wow.
He had to be there like at 6 o'clock in the morning. The whole crew was there, and that's when I met my family, my TV family, my Kellogg's Raisin Bran family. And they told us where to be and what to do and where to walk and what what to say, and 2 scoops, that type of stuff. We started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were through by about 7 that afternoon to shoot that whole commercial. Now they went back to the studio and played with it and got it all together.
It takes a lot of time to produce a quality commercial like that, for sure. And you also did one for Kmart.
I did. That one, they told us to always be prepared, and I'm going to hide my hands here for just a second. But they did, you're always supposed to keep your hands really looking nice. And we had just moved into our place up above Santa Rosa there, and I'd been out digging in the yard, putting flowers in, and I got a call from my agent. She said, we got a commercial shooting up there. Can you go there? She says, you're going to be showing jewelry. Are your hands clean? I went, oh no. So I ran in and scrubbed and cleaned, and you notice when you see that commercial, you'll see that they didn't do a close-up because my hands, they were kind of ragged. But anyway, I still got the commercial. And I'm trying to think of that. There's a real famous spaghetti sauce commercial. Did one of those, and I got to do an Orville Redenbacher, which was great fun.
Did you meet Orville?
Yes, he was there, and I got.
He was on those commercials early on.
Yeah, I even got a little sticker that I put on my suitcase that I carried for a while. It says, "I met Orville Redenbacher," and it was cute. It was fun working with him and working with the crew on that one.
Very good. Well, we showed the Kmart commercial, and now let's talk about this one here. This was not a commercial, I don't think. It's called Bloody Alley.
Oh, there was a Channel 7, and I don't remember if it was ABC, NBC, or CBS.
Sure.
But in San Francisco, we had it's called Pacheco Pass, and people had a tendency to go a little faster than they needed to, and there were a lot of accidents. So that one is one I was called in again to be the mother. And what's so cute about that, you see the car in there? They literally had to jump start it and then get the cameras ready, and he had to keep gassing it, to keep it running. And the minute we backed out and got around the corner, it would die every time. And so they had to do a 2-shoot on that one, then start it back up again, and we'd drive off. Wow. And I don't know if it's the one they crush in the picture or not, but but that was fun doing that one also.
Yeah, that's funny. So we'll show you that one.
Did you remember to turn the coffee on?
There was a tragic accident today, and it wasn't caused by a drunken driver. It was a shock to family and friends. Yet the killer remains at large.
Be sure and buckle up.
Every precaution was taken, without success. Suzanne Saunders examines the horrifying statistics of the concrete killers. Dangerous Highways, this week at 11 on Channel 7 News.
So that commercial there was basically a public service announcement trying to teach
Correct.
people,
warning them about be careful when you get over to the Pacheco Pass.
So you've always had this motherly look about you?
Oh yeah, for some reason. I like the All-American, not anymore, I'm the All-American grandma now.
Just as long as you don't get run over by a reindeer, we're good.
You got it.
All right, now let's talk about something that's amazing. Patty Trigg was on the Today Show, and what year was this?
Oh Lord.
In the 80s?
Yeah, I would say, mid-80s, because we released Grandma in 79. She became #1 in 83 and 84, and she stayed for 5 years running. So from there forward, 83. So it was somewhere in that period. The Today Show called us and wanted us to be on the Today Show, and that was when Katie Couric was she the one that was on there on the Today Show?
Maybe, but Bryant Gumbel's the one interviewed.
Yeah, and so anyway, he's the one who interviewed us. And it was fun. It was fun being on the show.
I bet that was a pretty big deal. What was it like?
It was a very big deal.
Were they nice? Did they talk about what they were going to talk about beforehand? Or?
No, we got to see him and say hi. They like to keep everything real fresh, so your responses are fresh.
Sure. So what was Bryant Gumbel like?
He was wonderful. He came out and he was just, there's lots of people running everywhere, and you could just feel the pressure.
Because it's live TV. It has
definitely.
to be.
Oh, it was live. And fortunately, we were comfortable. It was something that we found a person who does a lot of PR type stuff, and she got us aside. She got us on 1 or 2 programs, and we were one of those, if you'd ask a question, we go, yeah, no. And she says, and she pulled us aside. She said, you got to start talking, have stories ready, get there's the whole thing. But with him, that was a different story, but we just got out there, and by then we had done enough local stuff that when we got to New York, it was just real easy.
Sure.
But people were there showing us where to sit, where to stand, and stuff like that, and we just eased in, and he was sparkling. He just came right on, and it was fun.
Nothing like here with the one man running the show.
This is great too. I love it.
We can do what we want here.
I know, this is cool.
Now, believe it or not, that song is the top-selling single on the '84 Christmas hit list. That's according to Billboard magazine, which keeps track of such things. Now meet Elmo and Patsy Shropshire, who are responsible for the song. Good morning and welcome to both of you.
Good morning, Brian.
Wouldn't you allow that it is kind of nasty? Poor old Grandma never makes it to Christmas.
Well, you got to admit, if you really believe that, you won't believe in Santa, see? So it kind of helps prove that Santa exists in a roundabout way, in a warped sense of way. Right?
Okay. Do you have any other unusual things in your repertoire besides...
Oh, we do.
Like?
Yeah. We have a song called Did You Have to Wait Till Doomsday to Say I Love You? It's our newest one.
Sure, it'll be hot. Should have made it the flip side. Elmo and Patsy Shropshire, thank you very much. Best of the holidays.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for being with us.
Let's talk about the video. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. You said you did that in your living room.
Correct. We were living up in just below Santa Rosa up there in wine country, and we had like a ranch style home, and we had decided we wanted to do a video. Grandma had done so well. We got her to #1, so we went back into the studio, brought in studio musicians. The original recording that went #1, I played the bass, the rhythm guitar, and did the backup vocals. We brought in a drummer and a lead guitar player. And then Elmo sang the lead on it. And then because it went to #1, we decided to go back in, and we brought studio musicians in. I still did the bass and the rhythm. And then we did a whole album around it. And with that, we said, well, why don't we just go ahead and do a video? And so we hired a film crew. We didn't shoot it on video. We shot film.
Oh, yeah.
And oh man, that was a 3 or 4 day shoot.
Sure.
And they put the tracks down, and there's one scene in there where Grandma, we made that kind of one of our last scenes to shoot, but we'd been saving up the ashes out of the fireplace for a while, and where Grandma comes back and comes down the fireplace, there's this big whoosh, and we'd have to clean everything off and gather all the ashes back up and put them back in. It was a mess, but all the food that we cooked on that too. We had a lady come in to help us cook, but there's a scene as you go down, we're talking about the candles that match Grandma's wig, and you go down this table, that was my grandma's china that's on the table, and this woman cooked, and we even had the plum pudding. We had everything that's in the video, and as soon as we finished the last one, there was nothing left but bones. All the dishes were cleaned.
Was your dad, Colonel Trigg, really proud about them?
Oh, he was. One funny story about that, though, because he got a lot of music in, and everybody thinks they've got a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't. You never know. It's just here again. The public made it a hit. Every place we played, everybody loved it, and it wasn't a record company who did it. It was the public. So when we sent it back,
explain that public to the people.
That's where you go out and perform, and people hear it, and they begin to request it. They call their radio stations, and they want to hear it. And the demand was so great, they had to go with it. Whereas like a lot of times within a record company, they have the radio stations play it until you go, wow, I like that song. Whether you do or not, I mean, it's a different thing, and some people are just good, and they go and they begin to build songs, and they hit just one after the other.
Probably one of the last songs to actually get pushed like that. You don't hear that anymore.
No. I'll tell you what, this is something I really think is cool, is because of the internet. There are so many people now, it's almost like, I got to be careful how I word this. We couldn't have done it without the record companies, but I feel like they took an awful lot of advantage of their writers and their entertainers, and they kept a great percentage of the wealth.
Sure.
And at the end of the run, usually the entertainers were pocket poor, you know.
Sure.
But with the internet, it's like these people are hitting and they're selling.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just they're coming up with these videos and music, and this is the time for the independents again.
Yeah.
To come back in and really hit.
So you're for the internet.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about this now. We hadn't talked about this beforehand, so I may be way off base. But you got ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, and you were with CSAC, correct?
Correct.
Tell everybody what that is.
Okay, these are your performing rights societies, and it's like if we go around and play all these places, and like I'm doing an interview here, and I'm doing a radio show here, and all these type of things, and we're playing like at a convention center. We can't go around and say, you owe us money like this to each one of them. Nobody can do that. So they have these 3 organizations. Harry Fox was one of them for a while.
Oh.
And Harry Fox no longer does that. It's just the 3 now. But what they do is they go around to all the Class A, to all the radio stations and everywhere, and they pay a monthly fee.
Which we do too for Channel 6.
Yeah, everybody, they have to pay that. And then what they do is the different ones sorted out among their artists. Now here again, this is one of those things I'm kind of funny about because it's real hard to keep track of. So they send their own people out and they go by what the charts are, and they go and track it. They have their own trackers. They don't really let the artist say we're playing here, here, and here.
Right.
And a lot of times, unless you've got something in the charts that you've been tracked, you don't really get any money for your airplay, which is it's okay.
I understand.
But it's just one of those things you have to deal with.
Sure.
CSAC for a long time, because they were primarily, they were actually gospel, and they were
Right.
classical. That was their
That's right.
primary area. And Dad was with them because of the gospel music. And we were the first group to come in that wasn't gospel or Christian gospel
Wow.
or classical. We were the first group to come in. But we could give them our play schedule, our performance schedule, and they would pay us based on that. The other two would not.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, Ernest Tucker had the song called Blue Boat. Now, did Colonel have anything to do with that song?
I am not real sure about that. I wasn't
That was
part
way
of
back. That was way back.
That's before me, Laura. I was
Yeah.
gone.
The interesting thing, I've heard Ernest tell the story that they actually wrote that song as Blue Boat, and then Johnny Cash took it and wanted to change it to a train song.
Blue Train.
And
That's
so
how it happened.
Yeah. So I thought
Wow.
I think Ernest Tucker told me that
Yeah.
your dad had a part to play in that. So
Yeah, he was a character. Whenever I'd come home, my favorite thing was to go to the pastime and we'd all play. And I remember going out to the radio station a couple of times. He'd bring his fiddle down,
Oh, yeah.
and we'd play. It was
yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah. Well, let's hear you. Let's see if you can make your father proud with a little bit of Grandma, since we saw a little bit of the video, and we will get the guitar here and see how that sounds.
Pick a set of ears.
Uh-oh, man, it's going to be tough. Don't think I won't, because, well...
Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa. As for me and Grandpa, we believe she'd been drinking too much eggnog, and we begged her not to go. But she forgot her medication, and she staggered out the door into the snow. When we found her Christmas morning at the scene of the attack, she had hoof prints on her forehead and incriminating claws marks on her back. Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa. As for me and Grandpa, we believe. Now we're all so proud of Grandpa. He's been taking this so well. See him in there watching football, drinking beer and playing cards with Cousin Mel. It's not Christmas without Grandma. All the family's dressed in black, and we just can't help but wonder, should we open up her gifts or send them back?
Send them back.
Yeah, Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa. As for me and Grandpa, we believe. Now the goose is on the table, and the pudding made of fig, and the blue and silver candles that would just have matched the hair in Grandma's wig. We warned all our friends and neighbors, better watch out for yourselves. They should never give a license to a man who drives a sleigh and plays with elves. Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa. As for me and Grandpa, we believe.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Ah,
Perfect.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. That is very good.
You look so good in those reindeer ears.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Patsy, how many times have you done that song?
Oh, I've gone beyond counting anymore. If you think about it, if we released it in '79, and you do it every time you perform, so Probably close to 1 million, no. At least several thousand anyway.
Great.
Hundreds of thousands.
You know, as young kids are watching and that kind of thing, you know, it's good to reach out and reach for the stars, as they say.
Oh, yeah.
And you've done that many times. Let's talk about some of your early career. We got some pictures here. One of them is let's talk about your family first of all.
Oh, okay, the family.
Well, no, we'll go with this because this is
Okay.
the Trigg girls. We can start with this one right here.
When
See
my-
if Chuck can get this one here.
When Dad was stationed in Langley, Virginia, and I got it. Okay, we were stationed in Langley, Virginia, and this was my all-girl band. He helped me get an all-girl band. We put an ad in the paper. Now you see a guy there. That's Mr. G. You might guess it. He's a friend of ours. That's one of the kids that Dad helped go through school and everything with. But anyway, we did have a girl who was on keyboards, but unfortunately she was in a really bad accident, and so it was just the three of us. But Mike always sat off to the side, but we called ourselves the Girls of Mr. G, but we were the first girl band on Virginia Beach.
Wow.
And it was great fun. Andrea played drums and Joanne played bass, and then I played guitar and Mike played piano.
Wow.
And it was wonderful fun. We did rock and roll.
The Trigg girls, sometimes been known as the Triggers.
We started out originally, my brother, for his birthday, my dad got transferred to Alaska, and I was 10 years old at the time, and my brother, 1098, he would have been 8 years old. He got a plastic ukulele for Christmas. Now we were at the age where it was more fun being outside running in the mud puddles and stuff. But I had just reached that age where that was no longer quite as much fun. So I took up playing his little plastic ukulele and learning all the songs in the book. So Dad took me down and I got a new ukulele and traded up until I finally got a guitar. And all of a sudden my sister and my sister Kim and my brother Larry decided they wanted to learn. And so there was a fellow there locally, Bobby Saxton, who traveled with Patsy Cline and several people like that. But he came and lived with us and taught us how to play, and he was my first guitar teacher.
Wow.
And we got to where our first job, we started playing at a place called, see if I can jump here a little bit ahead because I got it upside down.
Okay, right here.
Okay. Our first job that we played as kids was at a place called the Montana Club, and this was downtown Anchorage. And we had our names up there, and this is us on stage. Now, because we were so young, they kept us in a back room, and we just came up on stage, and all these hunters would come in, the guys who go out and do the fur trappers and stuff like that. And we'd come out, we were like all eyes because there'd be like big Bowie knives in the bar, and everybody had like silver dollars and stuff. But this is Bobby Saxton there, and that's me right there. That's Kim, my sister Kim, myself, and my brother Larry on the steel guitar. And we'll swing it back around again.
I'll let you look at that.
We used to call ourselves the Trigg kids, the Trigg family, and that's the same thing. Then we went on to become, while we were up there too, this is a really fun picture because this is my sister and she became really proficient on the bass. Oh, and this is that bass I told you the story about.
Oh, really?
This is the bass that he bought during the Depression. But my sister was amazing, and most of the time she was 4'11". She had to stand on a crate to play.
Wow.
But anyway, this is Carl Perkins. He's the one who wrote Blue Suede Shoes, and he had it out first. And Elvis waited till his kind of ran its race, and then of course Elvis Presley came out with it. But it was just so cool that my sister played bass for him while he was there up in Anchorage.
Wow.
Playing. So we got a lot of golden opportunities like that. Here's us playing for the Yogi Bear show. It came to Anchorage, Alaska, and that's us on stage. And then this is a family picture right there.
So this is the Colonel Trigg right there.
Yeah, that's Mom and Dad, and then all of us kids. My little brother, we tried to get him on drums, but he just was not interested. He's the fisherman, the hunter in the family, and he's the outdoorsman. If you ever go by there, he's never home. He's always in his boat or he's out hunting.
Where was your mom from?
Mom she was actually born in California, but lived most of her life in St. Louis. And actually, when she was a baby, you remember, what were those kids that were real famous? The
Brady Bunch?
No, this was what? No, even before that. They were like the little alfalfa.
Oh, yeah. what we call it.
Little Rascals.
Little
The
Rascals.
Little Rascals.
Yes, that's right.
Well, when Mom was out there, she was a baby, and I've got her letter at home where they wanted her to come in and be, they had the baby that crawls around.
Sure.
And her mother didn't want her to do that.
Oh.
But she was invited to do that, and I've got the card at home.
So it runs in your blood.
It does. It's in the family for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we went on to become like, as we got older, the Trigg kids was like something we didn't particularly want to be called anymore. So we became called the Triggers when we went into high school. And,
Can you get that, Chuck?
we added a drummer, and then, of course, Patty Temple. And, this is a good story. Patty Temple, her father was like a manager of several people off the Grand Ole Opry. He did a lot of that type of work.
Wow.
And he got us lined up at the DJ convention and doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Mom and Dad, at that time when Patty Temple was in our group, Mom came up with an idea to help promote the band, and they called the little newspaper Music City News.
Wow.
And Mom created it.
Wow,
and
still going on today.
it's still going on today, and I'm
Wow.
trying to think of the guy's name who ended up, he was the star, they put the name on the masthead. And
Wow.
but anyway, I remember many days Mom would go out, that's when Marty Robbins had his racetrack there between Murfreesboro and Smyrna.
Sure.
And Rose's Cantina. And we've got pictures of Mom. Of course, back then you didn't wear jeans. Women didn't wear jeans and stuff like that. So she's walking across the racetrack with the cars going around, trying to get out there. She's got high heels on and everything to go out and do this interview.
Oh.
But it was really fun. So and I remember going into the Grand Ole Opry, and we'd put a newspaper on every seat in the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow.
And then people would sign up for the newspaper.
Wow.
And that's how that kind of
Did you
started.
see a lot of stars back in those days?
Yeah, we spent most of our time backstage. We were always kind of there.
Yeah, that's
in
good.
part of that time. That would be like in the 60s, early 60s.
Which was the heyday of the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
by
It's
far.
wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this right here. We have a little toy here. If I can grab it. There we go. This is the
Percy.
singing Percy, what?
Percy the
poinsettia.
Puny Poinsettia. When we first released Grandma as a single, I had written a song that was on the B-side a song called Christmas. And then that was in 83, 84 we sold it to, or didn't sell it to, we signed an agreement with, at the time, Epic. Epic was the record company that we went with. And Epic used Christmas for 1 year, and then in 85, they put Percy the Puny Poinsettia as the B-side. And it was on the album. But anyway, there was a toy company, Dandy Toys, who puts out every year this wonderful reindeer that does Grandma.
Oh.
So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a dancing, singing poinsettia plant? And so I put this guy together, and I drove down to Florida, put my mom in the car and said, let's go. And I just went down and talked to Dandy Toys. Gary was the gentleman who owned it, and I just went in there and I said, you got to do this. And I just stayed in touch with him and kept working with it. And Percy made the shelves, and he was sold at Rite Aid drugstores. Let me push the button for just
Sure. Go ahead. I'll push it right here.
Yep.
Okay, let's hear it.
Percy the Puny Poinsettia is standing beside Mr. Tree. My leaves have never been redder. I'm proud of the flower to see. Somebody made me feel better. Rescued me off of the shelf. Even to play with no one who ain't couldn't spend Christmas Day by himself.
He plays the whole song, huh?
That's it,
very
just
good.
one chorus.
Wow, that's
But
very-
it was so neat. This is one of those things. If you've got an idea, this is for you. I don't care what age you are. If you've got an idea and you want to do it, stick with it. And you may not get a go on it the first couple of times. It took 3 or 4 years before I finally convinced them they had to release this. And once they did, it sold out.
Wow.
And so we're working on putting it out again.
Sure.
And but it's exciting to see one of your dreams come true. But you got to stay with it.
One thing about the Grandma I've Got Run Over by a Reindeer hit is it wasn't a hit for, like some one-hit wonders or one-hit wonders for a very small period of time, and they do
Yeah.
well, and that's good. And we'd all like to have one of those. But
Oh,
yours
yeah.
continues on
It does.
year after year, the popularity each Christmas. It keeps coming back. And you being a hometown girl, we're just so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I guess this is an opportunity, since we talked about Percy, for you to play me a little bit of Percy. Is that what you're going to do?
Yes, I'd be glad to.
Let's hear
well,
it.
Well, actually,
Oh, you
I
wanna
do it with the.
You do it with the puppets. That's
Yes.
right. So we're gonna set you up and do that. And this is going to be Patty Trigg with her version of Percy, the Puny Poinsettia.
This is the whole thing, not just the. if, Percy, the puny poinsettia, hanging its bloom in dismay.
If they had just kept me wetter, I'd be a houseplant today.
Folks like the other plants better. Now he's alone on the shelf. Even a plant with no uncle or aunt shouldn't spend Christmas Day by himself. Holiday shoppers would stop at the counter and pick out a plant to take home. One at a time, all his friends were adopted,
Leaving me here all alone.
Percy, the puny poinsettia, hanging its bloom in dismay.
If they had just kept me wetter, I'd be a houseplant today.
Folks like the other plants better. Now he's alone on the shelf. Even a plant with no uncle or aunt shouldn't spend Christmas Day by himself. Went into the shop on the day before Christmas, came a poor little girl who was crying.
And when she walked by me, her eyes opened wide, and she said,
Can I please make you mine?
"Why, sure."
Percy, the puny poinsettia, is standing beside Mr. Tree.
My leaves have never been redder. I'm proud of the flower can be.
Somebody made him feel better, rescued him off of the shelf. Even a plant with no uncle or aunt shouldn't spend Christmas Day by himself. Even a plant with no uncle or aunt shouldn't spend Christmas Day by himself.
Percy, the Puny Poinsettia, and we might mention who the male voice was there.
Yes, that was Pete, and he was like, I was looking for the perfect voice, and he was the best. And he came in and he nailed it. I liked the voice character that he came up with.
Well, I wish you luck with Percy. I would say I wish you luck with Grandma, but I think the luck is still rolling, and that's good. What's your, people like us in this business, we always have these great ambitions. What's your ambition now? What would you like to do?
Well, right now I want to give back a little bit, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about maybe putting together some kind of a program to help young aspiring songwriters to come together and have a place to try out. I do want to write a book. I wrote one little book.
Let's see your book, and I have actually got this book. I think you signed it for me, and it's Letters from Grandma to Patsy. Now, that is a really neat book. Some great little stories.
The stories, the letters that Grandma writes are based on little stories that people have heard. The stories that I write to Grandma are based on actual experiences on the road. And if it's okay to say, the book nook there on the square has
Sure.
them, and also
The book end, right?
book
That's
end.
where I got it, I think.
And then also down there, the newspaper might have a few of them too.
Very good.
I gave them a couple.
So you're going to write a book?
I am. I'd like to write about some of the different experiences and the people.
Sure.
Like we got to meet Liberace at one point, and we called ourselves the Homestead Act. And he came to see us. It was our last show was at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
From 3:15 to 4:15 was our last show, and musicians didn't have anywhere to go, and ours was the place where everybody started hanging out. And so
What was Liberace like?
he was amazing,
Wow.
absolutely amazing. He would give you the shirt off of his back. He had wonderful points to give you, tips to give you, and stuff like that. In fact, he would come watch us almost every night. And finally, toward the end, he said, I want to fly you guys out to Los Angeles. And he was opening his home, the one where the pool is shaped like a piano. And he was opening it as a museum. And he invited us to come out there.
Wow.
And at the time, we did a song called Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring that was written by Johann Sebastian Bach. And Elmo played it on the banjo, so we did it where I played guitar, Elmo's on the banjo, and he was on the piano. But just wonderful, and just always there to help. He's the one who told us to go buy Patsy and Elmo originally.
Wow.
And helped us design it, said come up with some costumes and stuff like that.
Was his piano playing amazing?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Just truly amazing. I mean, he was a virtuoso, and the flamboyance was just extra, but if you took that away, phenomenal musician, just amazing.
Wow.
And he helped a lot of people. He got a lot of careers started too. Ours was one of them that he helped. And one real quick story, because this is one of those things that's real embarrassing, you know. And we had become pretty good friends with him. A lot of times you become friends with somebody, but they ignore you when you kind of get there.
Yeah.
And we were coming through, and he says, anytime you're coming through Vegas or coming through, stop and come in, and we'll go have dinner or whatever. So we come in, and if anybody's been in these showrooms, they're humongous. And of course, he had the big showroom. So we come in, and of course, if you palm the guy a little extra money, you can always get a seat down front.
Yeah.
And we didn't call Liberace. We called Liberace ahead of time and say we were coming in. So Elmo gave the guy some money and said we would like to sit right down front. So he takes us down front, but shoots way off over here on the side. Now it's getting pretty full, and so we're trying to be as quiet as possible. We're going, look, we're here to see him. He told us to come in and see him, and we want to sit down front so we can say hi. And all these people are going,
Yeah.
We're going, oh.
Like, yeah, right.
So finally, Elmo says, how much more do I have to give you in order to sit back over here so we can see us? So he was embarrassing that guy. So finally they put us down here at the front table. When Liberace comes out, he has his, he flashes his jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes down and shows everybody. Well, he hit the table right in face. He says, oh, Patsy and Elmo, good to see you. Stay here afterwards and we'll go have dinner.
Wow.
And everybody at the table's going, whoa.
Ooh, yeah.
It was such a good feeling because
I
he
bet.
could have gone the other way.
It could have.
Really easy. But that was a fun story.
Wow, that is so good. Well, I wish you luck on everything, and Fayetteville person, and we wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
We still call you a local girl. We can.
Oh, you
Even
can,
though
yeah.
You may be local everywhere, but you're here now. We appreciate you being here, and we wish you luck. And maybe we can get this songwriter showcase thing going again, because we actually had one, and it was probably one of the better events that I've actually videoed on the square.
That
and
was
you
wonderful.
and Marilyn were part of that,
Yeah.
and it was a wide range of music. Now, the thing about musicians sometimes is, and people, if it's not their kind of music, it's like, whoo. But really and truly, it was a very wide range, and it was a very good program.
I was impressed.
Yeah.
And that a lot of young people and wonderful talent.
Yep.
And even in these talent shows you're having, they're just excellent talent. That first time that I went down there and they asked me to be a judge for it, it was the toughest job I have ever had, because there wasn't one bad act in the whole thing. And
Makes you feel good that people are doing it.
It does. It really. Thank
Patty
you, Don.
Trigg, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for playing. Thank you for bringing your stuff, and thank you for the show. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're more than welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank y'all very much for watching right here on Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6. I'm Don Counts, and we'll see you back in here next time.
Hello again, and thanks for watching FPU's Channel 6. I'm Gina Warren, and today we're talking about Lincoln's Got Talent. And today our guests are Kim Davis and Miss Marianne Tackett. Good to see you ladies again.
Good to see you.
Good to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. We're excited. We've been talking a little bit about what we're going to expect this year for Lincoln's Got Talent, and it sounds like you've got some great singers and dancers and performers all around coming again to join you.
That's right. We've already
also a group of cloggers that have already turned in their application. And want to talk a little bit, though, before we get started about last year's Lincoln Got Talent.
Let's do. Tell folks what it was and how it turned out.
About the success of that. I tell you what, it's a benefit for the Humane Society here in Lincoln County. And we got together with Miss Mary Ann, said, Mary Ann, we need to put on a show, just a different way to go out and, you know, raise some funds for the Humane Society. So Mary Ann helped us put it together. And Buddy, by the time show night came around, we had raised $17,000, all to be put right back into the community for low-cost spay-neuter here, and to take some of the pressure off the animal shelter. You know, those guys are just up to their eyeballs every single day. I stopped by this morning before coming here to pick up applications for the show this year, and you know, in the drop pen is a litter of puppies and then a grown dog in another drop pen. It's just every single day, no matter what a great job they do adopting out animals at PetSmart, kitty cats at PetSmart, and dogs here at the shelter. You know, I know 2 Saturdays ago, I think they got in 38 dogs in one Saturday. Wow. So it's so important that this continue, and it continues for the Humane Society here to help support them just with their, you know, not only the spay-neuter cost, but with just the everyday operating. It's unbelievable what goes on out there and what they're faced with every single year. But the numbers are coming down because of the low-cost spay-neuter. We were able to bring in the space station last year with the funds generated from Lincoln's Got Talent, where we fixed over 100 animals on a Saturday, and then also had the Fix for Life bus where I'd meet them at the Armory at 5:30 in the morning, and people would meet us there with their animals. We'd take them up to Lebanon, get them spayed or neutered, bring them back home that afternoon. So that literally, with even just fixing 150 animals here in the community with the funds generated from last year, that saved tens of thousands of animals from being born and being taken to the shelter over the next couple of years.
That's right. That's good. That's good. And Kim, so many of the people that volunteer their time, that's what they are. They're volunteers.
That's it.
That help out at the animal shelter.
That's right. And we depend solely. We've got a very small staff out there. You know, God bless Denise out there for getting everything done every single day. There's nights that she actually spends the night out there. You know, when the weather's going to be bad and there's a chance of the pipes maybe bursting or something like that. But we do rely on volunteers, and it's so important. Looking for volunteers for Lincoln's Got Talent again this year. That's a fun thing. We meet at Wanda's Flowers and Gifts on the square, 6 o'clock on Monday nights. So anybody that wants to show up and get involved. Now, we can't give you the MC spot because that belongs to Miss Mary Ann here. She does such a great job.
Well, you know, I told her that she really should get somebody a little more sophisticated.
It'd be hard to do, though.
Well, you know, I'm just country and I'm not sophisticated, and so I said maybe she needs to get somebody a little more sophisticated. But
well, I don't know about that. We like to hear that Southern girl talk, so that makes us all feel at home.
And her banner last year, back and forth with the audience, there was stuff you just couldn't write. You know what I'm saying? And when things would happen on stage, Mary Ann was just quick to it, and back and forth, and you know.
It was a good time last year. It was not only a fundraiser, it was fun. It was a fundraiser is what it was. Yeah, it was. And I think the house was full, and we, you know, it was our first year, and we were really stressed out about what was going to happen, if we was going to have anybody there, and all the seats were full, and it was a good night, and the sound was good, and Don did a great job filming it, and everything just went off like clockwork, and we had so many people that came to try out. There must have been 50 entertainers that came across that stage that wanted to get in the finals, and you can only pick 15. And of course, little Sydney Goff won as Minnie Pearl. She was so cute and so good, and she communicated with the audience is what helped her win a lot, you know, because she was so good with the audience.
That stage presence.
Yeah, she had good stage presence, and they are judged on stage presence. You know, everything is not about how you sound or what, it's stage presence and your look, and everything is involved in winning that show.
Looking for a true entertainer.
Absolutely,
that's what it takes.
That's right. And she's going to be back this year. She will perform for us during the show. Good. And Miss Tennessee will be here, and she'll be out front between 6 and 6:30 signing autographs and doing her thing. And then she is a singer, and she'll perform for us. So it's going to be a good night. And we just hope that everybody who sees this, if you're an entertainer or want to be an entertainer, or you know somebody that is, send them to see us, have them call Kim, have them call me or whatever and fill out an application and come down and be in the show. And those tryouts are going to be on April the 30th starting at 10 o'clock in the morning at 9th Grade Academy. So everybody listening, if you want to be in this show, be at 9th Grade Academy at 10 o'clock. And we'd like to know beforehand so we'll know how many to expect, you know.
right.
But if you want to walk in off the street, that's okay too. We'll take you.
Right. We're actually, I think, talking about, and we decided about that, the Critter Crew, as we call our group of volunteers, said, well, you know, we need to raise every dime we can. Last year, we waived the $25 registration fee if they get their applications in. So what I'm going to do, if it's all right, I think we're going to say if you put on your application that you saw this on FPU and send it to us, we'll waive that application fee because it kind of helps us along to get your registration a little bit earlier, you know, so we know what to expect because we're going to be there from 10 to 2, but we certainly don't want you to show up so late. You know, so that'll give everybody an opportunity. So if you'll just put on your application that you saw this on FPU, we'll waive that $25 application fee.
Very good.
And
of course,
also-
folks can watch it live, and they can also watch it on their computer too.
Oh,
You know,
that's
sit back
right.
at
That's
home
right.
and watch it anytime as it replays. So,
Right.
Oh yeah, you
remind
see
folks
yourself on
about that.
TV.
That's right. They can. They can watch themselves. That's
And you
right.
know, and be sure to remember to bring a CD, music only, if you're a singer, of what you're going to sing, because the sound man has to have that. And it wouldn't hurt to have a backup, because sometimes when you get in a big building like that, maybe the CD that you have it on might be an old CD or something. It might be a scratch or something on it. And then, you know, we had this happen last year. And they would start to do their song and it would be messed up or something, and so that would be the only CD they had. So it would be good if you brought a CD, and then it would be real good if you brought a backup in case that first one didn't work.
good idea.
So you
Yeah.
still would not lose your place.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And so it's not only singers, right? I'm sure that's probably the
Yes.
majority of what you guys have. You know,
We encourage all different kinds of talent, and that's what this is based on. This is based on America's Got Talent. Now, and that's one thing great about this is, now last year we gave away, it was $500, and then Sydney got a trip to Atlanta the very next weekend to audition for America's Got Talent. She was there, and you actually had a couple of spots of her on some of their promos and on America's Got Talent's website, where they kept her for an extended period through all the different interview process. She didn't make it to the TV show, but not everybody can make it. But based on feedback that we got from the contestants last year, they said, you know what, some of the folks wanted to go down there. Some of them felt they weren't ready to go the very next weekend. So that's why we've kind of pushed the show back in the year here, where America's Got Talent is like their auditions were in January this year, so it was even earlier, you know, than they had them last year. So we were kind of rushed. So we decided what we would do was push the show back. It gives our winner, we'll give them $500 in cash, and also second place this year is going to get $250 in cash,
Very good.
which is fantastic. You can take the summer off, kind of prepare your act and work on your skills, and that gives you time to then register, pre-register, and go down to America's Got Talent when
So
it
that's
comes
still
next year.
part of it, though.
Still part of it if
Great
they want to
opportunity.
do that. Absolutely. And you know, so it's some folks want to go. Some folks said, you know what, I'm just happy to have the $500. To be honest with you, I don't have any interest in going to Atlanta and being on TV. But we definitely want singers, dancers, acrobats, comedians, anything in the world, any unusual talent. Now, sometimes you know somebody, you're not the one with talent. Maybe you know Don
somebody,
Counts has a
sure.
talent, and you want to get him on TV, and so you can let us know, talk to him, and we'll call him and try to get him involved that way. Because sometimes people are a little bit shy about their own talent, you know, but maybe you've seen someone that has a great talent, so we'll call them and get them involved that way.
Sure. And everybody knows somebody that can do something.
Everybody's got a funny uncle or
Well, you think about the things that go on in this county. Lincoln's Got Talent, Idol, Boone's Hill Grand Ole Opry, the Cancer Show, all of that. And all of those people are not on all of those things. So just think about the talent that we have in Lincoln County. We don't need to go outside the county to find talent. We got enough right here.
Right here. Right.
And we want to have a good variety show. You know, if everybody who wins and gets in the finals happens to be singers, that's great. But usually, last year we had dancers, comedians, singers, guitar players, and all that kind of thing went across that stage. So, you know, whatever you can do, if you can pick the old washboard, well, bring it on. You know,
the spoons. We hear there's somebody in this county that plays the spoons. We're trying to get to him.
That's right.
So, anyway, but we're really excited. As Mary Ann said, it's May 7th.
That's the event night, right?
Event night is May the 7th at 6:30. Doors will open at 6 to allow, as we said, the autograph signing with Miss Tennessee, Nicole Jordan. And it's not the same when people said, is it the same Miss Tennessee that's here last year? No, they change every year. So we'll be changing with the annual event we've been put on their calendar, where she'll be coming here every single year. So it's something to look forward to, even if you just want to come and bring your kids out to meet the current Miss Tennessee, because they're always a great role model for the kids, and she'll be performing as well.
And we hope everybody will join in and do this, because, you know, I put on so many benefits through the year, most of them out at Boone's Hill, for people who are in need and things of that nature. And, you know, we got cats and dogs that needs things too. So we need to help the animal shelter, and it helps the whole county and the city if we protect our animals, because they don't roam the streets like you see in so many towns. You can go where they don't have animal control, or they don't have a humane society or anything, and dogs and cats are just out there. So
that's right.
It's a good thing.
And with the economy, it's sad to say, you have some people who are having to relinquish their animals. You know, that they just can't afford to take care of them, you know, anymore. So it's a sad thing sometimes. It's you know, really a sad thing.
Yeah. But it's a great way to benefit them, and doing something like this, and like I say, and entertaining along the way, and spotlighting a lot of folks in Lincoln County that, like I say, maybe they participate in some of these other events, but as a competition, that's kind of a neat thing too.
I was amazed when I moved here to Lincoln County, and you know, it was something everybody said, oh, you got to go see all the shows, and they named off all the different shows, and I really couldn't believe it. Could not believe it.
There's a lot going on.
It's amazing.
Right.
It's
well,
amazing.
If you're looking for something to do on a Friday or especially a Saturday night in Lincoln County, all you got to do is look around, because there'll be something going on.
That's right. There really is, Marianne. Really is.
That's
all
true.
right. What else can we tell them? What about the judges? Who's judging the competition this year?
Well, now Miss Tennessee is going to be a judge.
Is a judge. Okay.
We have a former Miss Alabama. And we can't release too many names, because y'all might know these folks. And we don't
well, there might be some fundraising efforts out there bribing those judges, Kim.
That's right. You never know. We just want to make sure it goes to the Humane Society. And then there's also a CMA, a representative from the CMA this year. Yeah.
Great.
So it's going to be great. We really look forward to it. You know, it's just something. It gets very exciting. Now, we're going to come and see y'all. We're going to be knocking on your door here in the next few weeks asking for money. But that's, you know, how we raised the bulk of our money last year, was corporate donations. David West, as a matter of fact, from Gerald's, has already said he's putting down $500 this year.
Very good.
So that's fantastic. He'll probably be our top sponsor, but if anybody wants to beat him, we're certainly open to that.
That's right. You're not going to turn any dollars down.
That's right. We never do.
Very good. And what about admission that night? I mean, we'll give the date and time again too, but families trying to, you know, save up and plan on coming, what is admission cost?
Absolutely. It's $10 for an adult and $5 for student, and that's any student.
Okay.
You know, as long as you're school age, that's right. You can bring them all out, bring the kids out, and you know, see a great show.
Very
See a great show.
Very good.
And with your sponsorships, like with a $100 donation, we'll give you up to 5 tickets for free included in that. Okay. $250, $500, it goes on up. So if you make us a $500 sponsor, we'll give you however many tickets you need. And we have the VIP seating right up front for all of our sponsors to be able to come in, and we stanchion off the front, you know, a few rows, about 10, 15 rows, and let the VIPs choose their seats first. Then at about 5 minutes before the show, we let everybody else filter in if they want to in those seats. So it fills it up nice.
And we will be recognizing those sponsors during the show. So you will have your name. We will talk about you from the stage and give you recognition that you did sponsor Lincoln's Got Talent. So if you're out there and you're looking for a place to put a few extra dollars, we got a place.
That's right. And Marianne would love to say your name. She had a stack that thick last year, I tell you what.
Yeah, we'll talk about you.
Yeah, well, sponsors appreciate that too.
That's right.
That's right. I like to hear that. That's great. Well, it sounds exciting, and I know, folks, you need to get out and see the performances this year and support the Humane Shelter, Humane Society, because they do a lot of hard work. If you've ever been out there, you'll know that, you know, they have a very nice facility. It's very clean,
nice.
but they're just they're busy all the time.
That's
There's
right.
never a shortage of a
That's
pet
right.
needing a home.
It's puppy season, it's kitten season.
Yeah.
I want to talk just for 1 minute, if
Sure,
I could,
go
about
right ahead.
upcoming events we have in May. There's a big yard sale going to be at the National Guard Armory, so they're certainly accepting donations now. If you have any unwanted household items, or even if you have a yard sale and you have a truckload of stuff left over at the end of the yard sale, you call us and we can come get it and give you a tax receipt too. So that's real nice.
Okay.
Also, we have still our sailing program where we take puppies up north where they have the stricter spay-neuter laws. Now that doesn't mean we want you bringing all your puppies and kittens to us. You know, we want you to get them fixed. If you happen to have a oops litter, we have a program where if you will bring us your kittens or your puppies and they'll be well taken care of, the kitty cats go to PetSmart. After they're fixed, go to PetSmart and get adopted in Murfreesboro, and the puppies get on the truck and head up north to their forever homes up there. We will give you a certificate if you'll bring us your puppies or kittens from your oops litter, we like to call it, to have your mother fixed. So that way you don't have any more litters, and that kind of takes care of that problem too.
Very good.
So,
It's a great service.
Yeah, absolutely. It just helps.
And a lot of people does not know what they do out there. You know, a lot of people just think you drop them off out there and nothing happens, but there's work goes on out there.
There are, you know, and we've, you know, the last pet we've adopted came from Fayetteville's, you know, animal shelter, and just the most wonderful dog ever. And you could tell she's been so gentled out there with the kids and the volunteers that come out and, you know, pet them, play with them, keep them clean, feed them well.
That's right.
You know, so you know you're getting a healthy pet when you get it from the animal
That's
shelter.
right. They're all tested. You know, they make sure that they're healthy by the time that you get them. I have a big old 100-pound chocolate lab buddy that was an adoption from there, and he's just made himself at home, and he is the sweetest thing. A lot of people don't know. I think 1 in 4 pets that come from shelters are actually purebred pets.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people just surrender them or they get lost, unfortunately. So there's, you know, a lot of good pets out there before you just start searching the papers.
Yeah, need to take a look because you'd be surprised.
That's right.
And you just fall in love with them when you see them.
That's right.
You want them all.
That's right. You really do. It makes it tough. Makes it tough. All right. Well, tell us again. Lincoln's Got Talent. Winter tryouts.
April 30th. 9th grade academy starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. We hope we'll be through by 2 or 3 o'clock. So if you're going to be there on April the 30th, come on and get your name in the pot so we'll know, you know, about how long it's going to take. We don't want to keep people there till dark. We want to be through and let them go. But it's from 10, starts at 10 o'clock in the morning on April 30th. So
that's a Saturday this year.
That's a Saturday, and it will go all day. We'll pick all 15 finalists that day. There won't be another tryout. That's the only one.
One day. Okay, now where can we get applications if folks are jotting down and excited about applying for this?
They can go to the shelter
Okay.
and pick one up, or they can go to Wanda's Flowers and Gifts on the square and pick up applications there as well. And the exchange has been nice enough to run it for us in the exchange as well.
Good.
So take a look at your old exchanges. We know people save those papers.
They do. They do.
That's
Sure
right.
they do.
That's right.
Very good. So tryouts are on the 30th.
That's right.
The show is May the 7th.
May the 7th, the following Saturday, 9th grade academy at 6:30. The doors open at 6.
Okay.
So y'all can meet Miss Tennessee. And we hope to have you home by about 9 o'clock, 9:30. I know we were out it was a pretty smooth show last year. And we had, I think, 23 contestants. They were all so good we couldn't pick. So we ended up with 23. But this year we've said we're really going to try to narrow it down to about 15.
Very good.
So.
And it moves right along. We don't waste any time. We get them on, get them off.
That's right. You talk country, but you talk fast country.
We get on with it.
She's from the north end of the
She's a
county,
great
that's
MC.
why.
I know she's good.
No, I'm not. I have to put in a plug for Delrose.
Delrose.
That's
Very
funny.
good. Very good. Well, ladies, I know a lot of hard work goes into this. We hope it's just a huge success and
Thank you
raise
so
lots of
much.
dollars for those dogs and cats out there.
We so
They need
appreciate
it.
you having us and
We
showing
do.
the show
Sure,
throughout
we
the
do.
year. There's so many people that tell us they've seen it, and we're starting to ask about it this year. They said, well, y'all didn't forget about it this year, did you? No. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood why we pushed it back a little bit.
And y'all
So-
do a great job here, Gina.
Well,
you
thank
do
you,
a
Mary
terrific
Ann. That's
job,
so
and Don
nice.
does a good job, and
He
we just
does.
appreciate y'all so much.
That's right.
He does. Well, it's a big thing, and we like to be in the middle of it too. So folks out there that maybe can't come can sit back in their living rooms and watch it, and hopefully they can get there next year.
And
That'll be great.
we'll get somebody to come and watch the camera for a few minutes if Don wants to get up and perform, play the guitar.
Oh, he want to meet Miss Tennessee,
Well,
I'm sure.
yeah,
so.
we'll make that happen.
That's right.
Well, all right. Well, folks, write those dates and times down. Be sure to come out, get your tickets early, get your applications, get them on in so they can make a spot for you to try out.
I'll be glad to put my cell phone number if that's okay.
Well, yeah, if you don't mind.
Just in case anyone has any more questions.
Okay.
My name's Kim Davis, and it's 931-675-9001. And you can call me if you have any questions about times or schedules, or if you just want Mary Ann's phone number.
Whatever.
Call me for that too.
Very good.
She will call you back, I promise.
Yes, she will. She's real good at that.
That's it.
All right. Well, great. We'll look forward to another great show this year, and can't wait to see who our winner is. And wish them best of luck to all of the performers that night. So,
I know.
Sounds good.
It'll be a great show.
Sounds good. Well, all right. Well, ladies, good luck, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And talking about Lincoln's Got Talent. So again, don't forget that big performance on May the 7th. Lincoln's Got Talent right here in Fayetteville at NGA. So come on out and support the local animal shelter and all the hard work that goes on there. So folks, as always, we thank you on behalf of Fayetteville Public Utilities for watching today's FPU's Channel 6, and we'll see you next time.
Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts. Welcome into Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6, and today we're going to be talking some radio. We've got a good friend of mine, Bill Malone from the Bill Malone Rolling Home Show, and Bill, you are part of tradition in Fayetteville, Lincoln County, been around a long time, but I appreciate you coming in and seeing me.
Thank you very much, Don. Appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about Bill Malone. Where are you from?
Lickskillet.
Lickskillet. Now tell everybody, most people don't know where Lickskillet is.
Well, actually, I was born up in, is it Mickey Lawson Memorial Hospital now? Is that what it is up here?
Wow, up here, yeah.
But, moved to Lickskillet and I was about 6 months old.
Wow. And Lickskillet is in Alabama.
Right.
Just on the south of the Alabama line.
Right out Charity Lane.
All right.
Home of the Lickskillet Music Barn now.
Well, tell us about, you was brought up in that area. Tell us about where you went to school and what got you into radio?
Went to school at New Sharon and Hazel Green, and then in my senior year to Castle Heights Military Academy in Lebanon.
Oh, wow.
And got into radio after I realized that gin and cotton, running a country general store, what else? Farming. Radio was easier. So we went the radio route. And as a guy who lived there in Lickskillet, was raised up with Jerome Huey. He went to work in radio in Huntsville about 4 or 5 years before I got into it. Mm-hmm. And I kept noticing Jerome always had on nice clean clothes and, you know, never dirty and no hair out of place and all that. Right. And I said, hey, I think this is the way to go.
It's still hard work though. People might think that it's not, but it's pretty hard.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. You know that. Oh yeah. You've been there.
Tell us a little bit about what's your first radio gig.
First radio gig was at WBHP in Huntsville.
Wow.
And started out real good. Started out 75 cents an hour. And I'm serious. Worked about, I think I was working 60 hours a week back in those days.
Wow.
But 75 an hour is pretty doggone good. You could go over to Mullins and get about 4 slaw dogs and a big drink for 75 cents, you know, so it was pretty good.
What was radio like back in those days?
It was radio.
Real radio?
Real radio. No carts, no CDs. When I started there, it was no 45s, everything on 78s.
Oh.
And you drop a 78, goodbye, that's it.
Because it was very...
No, acetate, whatever they were made out of,
mm-hmm.
And like I say, all the commercials done live. Mm-hmm. You can imagine what one sounded like with me at about 16 years old. Like, what, Squeaky Fromm? Is that chick's name? But anyway, that's where it all began.
BHP still, I guess, in Huntsville, right?
Yeah,
still there?
Still there.
Yeah, they were a big radio station back in the day.
Big then. At one time with 1,000 watts, they were the #1 country station cumulatively, is that a word, in the nation, in Huntsville.
And I think they're on the same radio dial as EKR, or not? Real close.
1230 and EKR is on 1240.
Okay.
And been some Grady Reeves was there. Well, he was already there when I started. And bless his heart, he's gone now. But, you know, Robert, he's still going. And,
he's still on Channel 19 in the mornings. That's Grady's son.
Yeah, he comes in at 5:30 and does news till 6. And then, the Pothole King comes in, Steve Johnson.
Steve Johnson, that's right.
Yeah, we go, well, we don't need to talk about those things. Don't get me started on that.
I understand.
But Robert does 5:30 till 6, and then Steve and his sidekick, they come in. But Grady was, I can't say was an asset because later on I finally got him to admit it. Every morning he would go into Mr. Pollard's office. Mr. Pollard owned the station. Grady'd go in. You got to fire that boy from Lick Skillet. He's terrible. He's the worst I've ever heard. So at first it sort of, you know, unnerved me, but I got to thinking, I'm working for 75 cents an hour. Anybody that knew Mr. Pollard, he wasn't going to fire me, man. I'm working. Jerome, we were talking about Jerome. He worked there a year before he got paid.
Wow.
And Jerome went in. Mr. Pollard, he was just a unique individual. Had the first station in Huntsville. Jerome went in. He said, you know, Mr. Pollard, don't you think that after a year that I should get paid? And he stuttered. And everybody, you know, mocked him, but he didn't care. And he said, looked up and he said, get paid. Jerome said, yes, sir. Jerome just scared to death. He just stand there. He said, aren't you having any fun? Jerome said, well, yeah, I'm having fun. But he said, well, why would you want to get paid when you're having so much fun? I mean, that's the type of guy he was. He was great. He started a lot of people. Jay Hargrove was instrumental in getting me started, taught me which knob to turn and what to do and what not to do. And it was just wild back then. Good radio back then.
In those days, you know, you probably had artists wanting you to play their record and trying to talk to you about playing the record.
Yeah, every once in a while. Before I left there, I went over to Way. Mr. Smith bought Way. HBS changed it to Way, and it was top 40 rock and roll. That's what I really wanted to do. In fact, I was almost doing that on BHP. But every once in a while, you'd get a call, and Record World was the big magazine back then for country. And every once in a while, you know, I mean, am I supposed to say this? But you'd go out and in the wintertime especially, and getting your card. Oh, man. What in the world is that? And there'd be this bottle in your front seat with a little note on it, like I got one, I think, from Webb Pierce one time.
Wow.
Hey, you want to chart my record? Yeah, well, we'll chart it. But that happened even in the Huntsville market back then.
Sure.
You know, you've been around a long time, and all that payola stuff that came along, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get accused of that even now. Like, you know who?
I know you play a lot of 50s and 60s music, and that's what you were. That's the decade which you were really big in. So you go from BHP over to Way. Now you're playing top 40, which should be the 50s, 60s music that we know of today.
Then I go back to BHP.
Oh, you go back over.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fired from everyone in Huntsville except We Up. I never worked at We Up, and WFUN was stuck in there somewhere around 57. Then I came up here and worked for Mr. Clark at EKR for a while. When Teddy, bless his heart and rest his soul, went to Channel 8, which was SIX TV in Nashville.
Right.
He, best I remember, Mr. Clark hired 4 of us to take Teddy's place. Now, I'm serious. Now, you think Teddy wasn't strong.
Oh, yeah.
And after a while, he finally realized that I don't believe I need 4 people. So he called me in. I said, I think I know what you're going to say, Mr. Clark. So I'm gone. And then from there I went back to Way. I mean, it was just round.
Oh, yeah. That's just part of the business.
Yeah, having fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to mess up as many stations as I could.
Well, tell us about, let's move right on into WIXC, which is behind Blimpie today, where we know Blimpie's at. That's where it was. Tell me the history behind WIXC.
Well, Buddy Huey and I filed for WIXC, and got it, went on the air December 10th of 1970, and testing, and then commercially, I guess about the 15th we got on with the signal right and everything, ready to go, and then we hit it like gangbusters.
Now this was huge. This is a 50,000 watt AM radio station, correct?
Started as 1,000.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, then went to 5, then went to 50 ERP.
Wow.
I was 1,000 when we started.
Wow, how did you increase that? How did you apply? Because it has something to do with population, FCC regulations, and all that.
Yeah, well, I had a good consulting engineer, Gene Sisk, down in, at that time he was in Fulton, Mississippi, and he did all the engineering for me, and I had a couple of good law firms that pushed it through.
Sure.
For Buddy and I up in Frederick, Maryland, and one in D.C. that took care of that.
Wow.
If you've got a couple of good law firms and a good engineer, why you can prove it. Back then you could get it through.
Wixie was a very strong part of Fayetteville, Lincoln County, but yet it was huge. It grew huge quick. Let's talk about the infant stages. You had a little building back in the bottom of in a little hole back there. And if anybody knows anything about radio, it's a moist area, so you could the signal would really get out.
Yeah, the ground conductivity was just phenomenal out there.
Yeah.
And they said probably back in ancient days that Elk River flooded, it was all underwater, and that with all the, I guess, fish and the fish, the river, the water life is conducive to good ground conductivity. Am I looking at you too much? Or
either way is fine. Okay. You do either way.
And we got that thing built and got it on the air, and of course might have violated a few rules.
I can't imagine you
might
would
have
do
run
that.
a little more than 1,000, and might have run a little more than 100% modulation, because back then, we really didn't care, and I didn't have anybody, turn the modulation down, don't get tired. Didn't have all that going on.
Yeah, that's right.
No offense, Joe. Anyway, we had her wound out.
Oh yeah.
Pedal to the metal. Had some good people. Doug Roach started with us in the early days, and we just had a crew of good professional radio people all the way down. Didn't hire anybody but professionals. I mean, that was it. If you hadn't been there and done that, you couldn't work at Wixie. And of course, before we came on, we brought them all in. Buddy was more or less in the administrative part of it, and I was in the programming end. We had it all worked out who would do what, and so I brought them in, brought the entire crew in, and we went through programming just like we were on the air for about 2 weeks before we ever hit the air.
Oh, really?
Everybody knew what to say, what to play, and the whole thing. It wasn't just, hey, it's on now, let's play something. Didn't have that junk going on.
Oh yeah. Well, my recollection as a kid, I mean, it was a great radio station, and back in those days, I guess you were playing records, right?
Oh yeah, we played. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. Yeah, we played records, and of course by then we had the commercials on CART, and we played all the commercials off of CART, which is like an 8-track tape to those who are not really familiar with it.
Sure.
And I still play off CART today.
Sure.
And
they sound great.
And thank you.
Yeah.
And of course, most of the programming where I'm doing my gig now at YTM, got a computer, and a lot of those, and the computer sounds good, but the computer that Joe has just isn't fast enough for me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they just dead. There's like a half a second or a second. Right. I can't stand that.
No.
It's got what we call it. We call it ducktail. You know where I'm coming from.
No dead air. Don't want dead air.
No dead air.
Back in the day of Wixie, I remember, and I know you're going to remember much more than me, but y'all did remote broadcast from. I remember Big K. Y'all did remote broadcast where you was actually playing the record from the location,
right,
and talking right there. And you don't see that much anymore.
We did that. We moved the entire operation to the remote site. Removed the cart machines and the carts, and had a little console with 2 turntables. We moved everything because when people came to remotes, they wanted to see how it was done. So we set up on a table with everything just like we were out in the control room. And I'm not saying it fascinated people because I wouldn't use that terminology, but it was interesting to a lot of people to see how we did it. And then I had a guy hired Dana Harmon, who was a real professional, and Dana had been at BHP. Well, we had the Marty system, and Dana went out. He didn't want to carry the equipment. He didn't want to move it. Dana didn't want to work real hard, so he would go out with a microphone in the Marty, which is a remote transmitter, back to the station. And we'd have Lynn Yancey or somebody. Sometimes I did it, had to do it. and did everything back then. So I thought, Dana, this ain't gonna work.
Right.
People walk in, you know.
They don't understand.
Yeah, they don't understand. But we thought there was more
Sure.
to it than this, you know.
Yeah. And actually, folks, that's the way they're doing them today, which is not real impressive. If you want to impress somebody and get them to see what you're doing, because the actual what you do every day at the radio station is pretty impressive.
You know, most of them that do remotes now, there's the whole thing right there.
Off of a cell phone.
On a cell phone. Hey, we're out here at so-and-so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just not, I've done some that way.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I have
But
to.
it just not, it just isn't radio and what's happening.
Well, looking at a building that's not even there, the old Wixie building was a very high-end building back in the day. Because if I'm not mistaken, y'all were one floor, then you went to two. Explain that story.
Actually, it was a 235 house. Buddy and I, we got a guy, John Gann in Huntsville, built a 235 house, and we sort of modified it, and where the control room would be, and then we got the big flood came, 73, 74,
Right.
and remarkably, it was up about 46 inches in the building, and we only lost one little old low-end, low-dollar tape recorder.
Wow.
Is all we lost. Everything, we
amazing.
got everything set up. There's a bunch of guys here in town that helped us. We turned the transmitter over, set it up against the ceiling because it was 1,000 watt then.
Sure.
And no water got in the transmitter or any of the equipment. And thanks to the good Lord, we got in some guys that helped us. You remember that flood when it came down?
A little bit.
It was bad,
It
buddy,
was
let
bad.
me tell you. Yeah, that water was coming down Norris Creek, and we had a boat, and I think William Barnes, he was the navigator. That's what you do with a boat.
Yeah.
And we would get on that thing over there at the bridge and start toward the station, and that water was so swift.
Oh, man.
Man, we were just barely moving. And
Oh,
that boat
wow.
and I'm thinking, if this boy quits, they won't see us till we go through Biloxi. It ain't gonna stop, man. I'm telling you. But we managed to make it and got everything back when.
Now, is that the point you actually built a second?
Yeah, when we went to 5 kilowatt, the transmitter was 2 compartments, a lot bigger, and I knew then if it ever floods again, ain't gonna be no saving it. So we built a second story on the south end of it and moved the control room up in the upstairs and the transmitter upstairs, and got everything if the water gets us here, goodbye Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah.
It'll all be over then.
That's right. Yeah.
Almost like a tsunami, but it never did. So we got one more flood that came up, and it got within about 1 inch. You could see it in the registers, but it never got up in the flow. It came to about 1 inch, and then that was it.
Wow.
I guess the good Lord was smiling.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder why, but anyway.
Well, let's talk about programming. Not only did you do just it's old real radio, you had news, which was big time, and then most people don't see that behind the scenes that you're dealing with today, and lots of sales.
Right, we had lots of sales, and everybody pretty well double what we call combo. You know what that is? You work a shift on the air, then you hit the street, and then you sell. And I sort of had a rule that you better sell enough to cover your base salary, or
Sure.
goodbye.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody paid their way.
Yeah.
And the way we had it set up then, and sales were good, and the news department. I had a good news guy, and Doug started doing news, Doug Roach, covering news, selling, and working the air.
Oh.
I pretty well tried to work him to death, but I didn't make it. He's still kicking, I think. But anyway, then I had Jim Dalton. He worked at Channel 31 for a while. Then he came up, and he did news for us. We did a lot of investigative reporting.
You did, and some serious controversy back in the.
We had a lot of controversy. In fact, this one guy here, won't call it his name, but he flew to Washington and went into the FCC and went into Mr. William B. Ray's office, who was the head of the Complaints and Compliance Division, and he was up there and he was telling what, and so I said, well, maybe I need to go up and talk to Mr. Ray. So we went up and talked to him, and I don't know whether the fellow, I wish I could have taped Mr. Ray. He said, Bill, you're doing what we like for radio stations to do. You started going about it in an unorthodox manner, but let me tell you how to do it. So he told me how to do it, and basically, you keep doing it and tell them to.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Wow, that's very good.
You know, it's real ironic. I'll tell this story real quick. Jerome Huey went with me up there because I did fly from Fort Jackson to Fort Hood, Texas, but we flew up and we went in and sat in Mr. Ray's office. I mean, this guy could push the button on any station he wanted to push it on.
Wow.
And we're sitting there, I'm talking to him, and he keeps looking at Jerome. And at that time, Jerome had gone to Bay Springs, Mississippi, and built a station down in Bay Springs. And Mr. Ray was talking to me, but he kept looking at Jerome. And I'm thinking, why is he looking at Jerome? Jerome's sitting over, you know. So he finally says, where are you from, sir? Jerome says, well, I'm from Jerome had this, he worked for WTAR in Norfolk at one time, and big station, pretty big for old boy from Lickskillet, you know.
Yeah.
So Jerome says, well, I'm from Bay Springs, Mississippi. He said, I thought that's where you were from. In fact, I saw you a couple of weeks ago. And by that time, I'm saying, what is going on here? He said, you go to Bay Springs Baptist Church, don't you? And I'm completely, at that point, Jerome said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. He said, yeah, and you were singing in the choir, weren't you?
Wow.
And I keep sitting there, what is this?
And this is the FCC, man.
Yeah, William B. Ray. And he said, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law live in Bay Springs.
Wow.
And by that time, I'm saying, I think I pretty well got it made.
Got it now.
Got it made now. And he said, in fact, I listened to your station. You got, for a town that size, Bay Springs, about 2,000 people. He said, for a town that size, you got a fantastic radio station.
Wow.
So
That's
that ended. I don't think anybody from here, I don't think any of the fathers flew back to Washington again.
Wow.
Trying to put the, am I bragging a little bit?
No, that's very good. And that's what I wanted to hear. One of the other things is your news department was, if there was a wreck or an accident, you actually reported, I don't know, from the scene, or you actually did a lot of, for back in those days, that was amazing.
We were there. If we heard a siren, we were after.
Ambulance chasing.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't make a lot of money like these. Well, I won't say that either.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know where I'm coming
from. I know where you're going.
But anyway, yeah, we were there. A lot of times we were there. If we heard the call, we would be there if it's an accident before.
Sure.
Even that, we'd beat the ambulance there.
Sure.
On a few occasions.
Sure.
And that's what people wanted. Day or night, didn't matter. We were a daytimer, but if it happened at 2 in the morning, we were there. Either I was there, Doug was there. We did the report, and when we hit the air the next morning on the first newscast, we had it on. You know, it got to where people said, well, I heard a siren a while ago, but turn on Wixie.
That's right.
We'll know what's happening. But
real quick.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
Of course, gas wasn't 3.5 a gallon then.
That's true.
You know, used to run, I remember one time we were going to an accident out on 64, and one of the troopers was en route out there also, and he passed us because we had communication with all of them. He said, well, won't that thing run? Let's go. And so, of course, we didn't run up with the troopers. That would have been bad. We had no right to exceed the speed limit any more than anybody else.
Right.
Had a lot of fun back in those days.
Oh yeah, that was some good times. And I remember as a kid, you know, if like you say, if you hear something going on, you'd hear the details on WIXC AM 12. What was 1140? 1140, right? And that radio station still exists, but it's a different name. And,
yeah, it's a gospel, BXR now. When you hear it, it's news. When you read it, it's history.
That's right. And that's a good point. Now
we born him.
No. You had Lynn Yancey. Let's talk about him.
Oh, Lynn, yeah. The gospel music dean or whatever title I gave him.
Was he that way back in those days?
Oh, yeah. He was in, I got to tell you one story about Lynn.
Okay.
Lynn worked. Lynn worked 7 days a week. Didn't require it. He just worked the way the schedules he wanted to work. So I told Lynn, you need to take a vacation. You're burnt out. You're mumbling, and like we all did. And,
sure.
And okay, I said, I'll work Sunday morning. Well, I came in Sunday morning and signed on, and wasn't feeling too good. We won't go any further with that. But about 6:30, I look out, we were up on the upper level then, I look out, and here comes Lynn down the driveway off the bypass. And I'm thinking, what's he doing here? He cuts out. He's going to die when he gets out of the car, as his Nashville, Tennessee, comes up, sits down in the chair over there in the control room. Morning, boss. Yeah. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So he starts reading his paper. And I'm thinking, he hadn't had a vacation. I don't know, at that time, maybe 2 or 3 years. He worked every 52 weeks a year. I said, Lynn, why are you up here? I have anything else to do. I said, well, I'm going to give you something. If you're not out of here in 2 minutes, you're going to have something to do because I'm out of here. Okay? He grabs his paper and he's gone. I didn't see him for the rest of the week, but Lynn is a good one. He is a number one. Loves gospel. And I don't know of anybody that knows more in this part of the country than about Southern gospel than Lynn.
Gospel music people know that too, and that's why he gets to play. They send him music.
Oh yeah,
he's in the know of that whole thing, just almost like it was in your 50s and 60s,
right,
where people really wanted you to play their record. And he has a show now on Sunday nights.
Sunday night, he's doing Lynn's Gospel Gems, I think is what he calls it. Tremendous listening audience on Sunday night.
Oh yeah, it's a great opportunity. I know when I worked up there on Sunday nights, I knew there was an opportunity for something on Sunday nights, but I really never was sure what it was, but I think they found it, and I think that's good. Now, let's talk about the Bill Malone Show. The Bill Malone Rolling Home Show, let's talk about where you got the name Rolling Home. Was you afternoon drive time at Wixie?
Well, I did afternoon drive at BHP.
BHP.
And off and on that way, Mr. Smith, he moved the shifts around, and for whatever reason, but most of all, it was at BHP. And I didn't originate it. Hudley Crockett originated Rolling Home. And before I got into it, Hudley was working at WHBS, that later became Way, and Hudley used that. Then Hudley was from Tennessee. He came back up here and ran for office. He started dabbling in politics, and I'm sure some of the people around here, will remember that. I think Hudley's still living, but Hudley was just, to me, he was it on the radio. He had a style, and I tried to copy Hudley. And I used, after he got out and went back, then I started using Rolling Home. And I was trying to be Hudley. And then I forgot who came in the control room one day and said, got some advice for you, Malone. I said, yeah, he said, whoever it was, I can't remember. He said, quit trying to be Hudley Crockett and be yourself. I said, okay. And that was the last time I tried to mimic Hudley or sound or use his mannerisms like he did. But he was sort of like Coyote. Coyote passed away, couple of days ago, but notice that yodel there. Not some cigarettes. Had to quit smoking.
Had to quit smoking.
Out of the control room.
Well,
I'm gonna be right now. Aren't
you
I?
are.
Yeah,
when you're looking at back in the days of the 50s and 60s radio, and even today, really, but you've got the voice. And back in the day at Wixie, if people remember, y'all would make your voice even better with an echo, a little reverb, and that was sound like y'all were just gigantic,
Yeah, and sometimes Saturday afternoon I had a lot of fun with it.
Oh,
with that reverb,
crank it on.
I had it right on the console, man. I could crank it up and crank it down. And I told them, if I'm not around and I'm gone to someplace, and there's a yodel again, and the reverb goes out, sign off. If we don't have the reverb, we're off there. Just let it go. But a lot of stations used reverb back then. I put one on BHP one time, slipped in there one night real late and wired one in. And the next morning, I was working Sunday mornings then some, and people started, preachers were on, in fact, David Sane was on, David's here now.
Sure.
And David would do that.
David had a great voice.
They started calling up, when did y'all go stereo? They thought we'd gone stereo, but it was only that reverb. I'd have one on this one up here now.
Well, let's talk about...
I'd have one on this one up here now.
I know you would. I know you would. Well, let's talk about your show today. It's on from 3 to 6, and basically you go out and you sell your show.
Right.
and so that's a good thing. You still basically carrying on the tradition of what you've been doing for years.
Right, I got this. Slim Lay did this in Huntsville, and at BHP when HBS sold to Way, then there wasn't a place for Slim show on top 40 fast-paced radio, so he came over to BHP, and that's what Slim did there. And I do basically what Slim did as far as revenue is concerned. Sure. I could never be Slim Lay on that. There'd never be another Slim Lay. I mean, he was just, and people still remember Slim from around here. And his boy lives down in Florida, and I do some talking with him back and forth on the computer some, but Slim was just, he was unique. He's the only guy I've ever heard on the air, and people will tell you this, the people had rather hear him talk than hear the music. That is a fact. He'd play about 4 songs an hour and had all these accounts, and he did them live. He didn't record them. He had a big old book. He just turned room. Turn one and he'd do about 5 or 6 and play a song, do about 5 or 6 more. But Slim was just he's the best I've ever heard.
Let's talk about one thing. I'm going to go back to Wixie just for a second. When Wixie went on, you were not only in the Fayetteville market as it got bigger. You not only hit the Huntsville market, you hit markets everywhere.
Right.
How did that, tell people, most people don't realize how, I mean, it would go, I guess, far as Atlanta, Birmingham. I'm just saying. Tell everybody about how strong Wixie was.
Well, we were real strong at 1,000 watts. We were covering, especially late in the afternoon when Skyways started coming in. And then we went to 5, and we were really strong then over in Rome, Georgia, and back with some listeners on a daily basis in Rome, and some quick stop stores they kept us on, like they do up at with my show now up at Swanee Market, up there on the mountain. And then we went to 50 ERP, and that's when it really, that was south, of course. Then the afternoon you could drive up and down the beach and Gulf Shores and listen to us just like you were sitting in Fayetteville. Which that was all good for that ego, but I never did have any clients on from Gulf Shores. You know, they got thinking about that. But it was, just go as far as you can. It was my philosophy.
Sure.
And that's what we did. Might not have been the best thing.
I understand.
But at that time it was good. People come in, man, I was down to Gulf Shores and listened to you like I was in Fayetteville. Good, man, I appreciate that.
Didn't put any money in your pocket though, did you?
No, didn't put a bit in the First National Bank up here, not a bit.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's talk about your show in the afternoon. Your show basically still playing, you play a little bit of everything today.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't play any rap. Don't play no hip hop.
Okay. But you play country and still play 50s.
Yeah, rock and roll. And then we got to have a segment at the end of the show called Do Good Songs that Howard Bentley sponsors. And we usually get in 3, possibly 4 gospel songs at the end between 5:45 and 6. I just feel like that. I feel like we need to do it. And a lot of people like it. But we play the old rock and roll, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee, Elvis, and then slip over a little R&B. Like every once in a while, slide Little Richard in. He could be listening up in Lynchburg.
He could be. He lives up there.
So we play a Little Richard and a
little Delbert McClinton.
Oh man, we're heavy on Delbert. Bobby Smart's wife sent me a message on Facebook the other day. Said every Monday is Delbert Day on Waxo. I sent her one back. Every day is Delbert Day on the Rolling Home Show. So there you go. You know Bobby, don't you?
I do.
Big Bobby.
Yeah, Big Bobby.
They call him Bob now.
Oh, they do.
But we're not here to talk about Bobby. I don't even think he likes me anymore.
And you also have a little NASCAR show that comes on. Yeah,
in the afternoon we do 2 little NASCAR shows at 4:50. NASCAR Today and NASCAR Midday, which a lot of people like now. And the good friends B&B Auto Parts down at Newmarket. We're gonna miss some of these clients out.
I know.
I know. But I love all my clients. Y'all hear that?
I didn't mean to get in on that, but you do weather and the temperature.
We have the Weather Lab. Have you seen it?
I missed the Weather Lab.
Yeah, next time you're up there, I'll take you on a tour of the Weather Lab.
Good. I'm heading up that way. Let's go.
We'll go through the Weather Lab. Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well, everybody catch Bill Malone's show in the afternoons from 3 o'clock until 5, Monday through Friday on WITM 105.5.
I almost forgot to call letters, didn't you?
I did. It's been a while. You asked me yesterday, Bill, we had a power outage one day, and I had to call Bill to we try to give updates, Fayetteville Public Utilities, of how many people are out and what to do if the power's out. And Bill asked me which button to turn, but you figured it out. One thing about this business is, as long as you've been in, you sort of not only knew how the console worked, you knew how the inside worked, because that's part of the deal back in the day.
Oh yeah, I did a lot of them troubleshooting and all
Sure.
that. And then if it got, like if it got into Ohm's Law, I had to call Don Roden. Don came up, which he was up here yesterday.
Yeah.
We had a little problem, and he was up here working. And Don, he's chief engineer at Channel 31.
Is he? He's really good.
He is very good.
And a nice fella.
Oh yeah, you can't, let's brag on him, then we need something done for you.
I need something too.
You need something done, he'll do it for you.
But the one thing about him, I mean, he really is good, and you have met a lot of good, interesting people in this business throughout the years.
Yeah, I have.
We can talk about some, and you can't talk about some. Well, Bill Malone, thank you very much for coming.
Is it over?
No, it don't have to be. It's never over.
No, I can't say that.
What can you say?
I can't say that.
That's why it's about over then. Bill Malone,
right.
thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
A radio legend here, no doubt, and we appreciate what you do.
No.
Oh, yeah, you are. You got plenty more years?
This guy knows what's doing this speaking now. Greg Screws.
Greg Screws speaking.
Yeah, he's billed as a television news icon.
Wow, icon.
Or something now.
Wow. Maybe I'm next.
Maybe everybody's next.
Everybody's next.
Oh, Greg's okay.
Yeah. Well, in this business, we know everybody sort of, or know of them, and
don't have to like them.
Don't have to. Yeah.
Right.
Comes with big egos like we have.
Now you know. You know better. When you gonna come back up and start doing a little part-time gig?
I need to. I miss the buttons. I love the switching the buttons. I love it.
Yeah, pushing those slides.
I love that. I love it all. Bill Malone, rolling home Monday through Friday, YTM. Appreciate you coming by. Good luck, and you're going to be around a lot longer, and we appreciate what you do.
I'm the last man standing.
You're the last man, that's right.
Really, honestly, except Luther over at WDEF in Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
Luther's still doing mornings on DEF. He's been there. This is his 70th year, I think, on the air.
Wow.
And then he does a little blurb on Channel 12, public service stuff on 12.
Sure.
And Luther is still going.
Sure.
But outside of Luther, I guess. Of course, he's on the east side of the mountain. Doesn't count over there, does it? I mean, if you're over here.
You're the man then, over here.
Last man standing. Me and the killer.
That's right. Well, we wish you luck and appreciate you coming by talking to us, and love hearing the old Wixie stories, because I think a lot of younger people don't realize how big WIXC radio was in Fayetteville, Lincoln County, and you were the man that made it happen, and we appreciate
Thank
that.
you very much. I appreciate that, Don.
Appreciate y'all watching here on Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6, and we'll talk to you next time.